Welcome to Way Way Back 19XDX. I'm your host, Chris, aka Pixel Polygon. This is episode 2 of a new show here at Detroit Arcade Club, season 2. This is my personal video game history. And if you joined us last week, you hopefully got to see me try and stumble through Gradius on NES. We talked a little bit about how that is one of 3 games that were the very first NES games I ever got to experience. Going through this exercise of trying to play through these games in an autobiographical order is interesting because it's jogging my memory in terms of things that, are just not so easy to actively recall. And so I'm pretty sure that I was about 5 years old when I played Gradius and The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. For the first time. That would make it about 88, 89. And I know I begged my parents, specifically my mother, over and over and over for a Nintendo. And when I finally got one, it was a momentous day. It was a very, very big deal. But I realized the other day, in preparation for this episode, this very foggy, cyberpunky episode, before my family bought an NES, do you know what we did? We went to Blockbuster Video, we made a $100 refundable deposit, and we rented a Nintendo Entertainment System, along with a handful of games. And I remember this NES came in a giant flight case. This black, angular, heavy-duty plastic, the kind of thing that you would probably see a camera crew walking around with, like a Pelican case. And it had these very precisely cut, I remember it wasn't half-assed, very precisely cut foam inserts. And the NES itself fit perfectly inside of this big bulky case. The cords, controllers, everything had their own compartments. And that was like the coolest thing ever when you're a kid. My mom and dad aren't necessarily buying this for me, but we get to just go get one and bring it back home to our house. It's in this crazy box. And it's probably reversed. Yeah, that's funny how the camera does that. But this is the very copy that I ended up convincing my parents to buy for me. Abadox was one of the first games that I played on this rented NES that we got at Blockbuster before my parents so generously purchased one for me. What's up, Jimmy? Thanks for joining, my friend. Let's celebrate your entrance with a little more cyber fog. Welcome to Way Way Back 19XDX, episode 2. So we're just talking about back in the day. I realized I had to convince my parents to rent an NES before they bought one for me. And this game, Abadox, it was developed by Natsume along with a couple of other companies. I always assumed that this was a 100% Natsume jam that was localized and published in America by, as you can see over here, Milton Bradley, which is kind of funny, because this game is gory. It's kind of gross. So, 8-bit shmups are really, really strange, and my dad actually was the guy who picked this game out when we were at Blockbuster renting the NES. My dad was always a horror movie hound, and he still is. He loves scary movies, he loves gory movies, and I don't know if this is a typical 80s kid thing or what, if my parents were just weirdos, but he seemed to have very little filter when it came to what movies I was allowed to watch as a 5 going on 6-year-old. Of course, there were limits. Like, he wasn't sitting me down to watch Hellraiser and see Pinhead and Cenobites terrorize people and put them through crazy S&M hell. But he did have this makeup effects book that was about Hellraiser that he just had out in the open. And I remember looking through this book as a little kid and being horrified and also thinking it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So, he saw this. He thought it looked really splattery and gross. For anybody who's watching that is into horror movies, I kind of remember seeing a trailer for this on TV for this game. So this game came out in Japan in the late 80s and came out in North America in 1990. It's a kid playing video games in front of a CRT in his room, and the wall behind him, this giant creature busts through, and it's this disgusting 80s direct-to-video looking slime monster with teeth, and it's drooling and snarling, and it's like vomiting stuff. It's not as graphic as I remember. That's my memory of it. It kind of looks like this little boy right here with these eyeballs popping out, who I think is also supposed to be this guy, who is one of the bosses you fight early on in the game. That commercial stuck with me. So we picked this game up. And I don't think for the 3 days that we had that NES rented and this game, I don't think my dad or I could beat the first level boss. This game gets knocked for being really, really hard. I hope I don't jinx myself here. Not gonna lie, but I practiced it a little bit, and earlier, I was able to get to stage 3 pretty effortlessly, which was cool. I was super stoked about that. Hello, thank you for joining, Mr. Logan Mills. Welcome. I was talking with Jimmy about how, before my parents bought an NES, we rented one from Blockbuster. This was one of the games my dad picked out. So, this game has always had a special place in my heart in terms of its artwork. It's really, really nasty and disgusting. The premise is essentially that, and I could be wrong about this, at least this is the localized premise. You are this astronaut in space, you've got a ship, and you get a distress call from a planet that's being absorbed by this giant creature that travels through space and devours everything in its path. And I want to say that Abadox is supposed to be the name of that entity. And so you travel there and you're trying to rescue any survivors. Of course, this is the 80s. It's an 80s game. You're pretty much like the undefeatable, invincible super dude going to save the girl in the heart of the planet who's all like tied up and chained up inside of this creepy tentacle beast. Let's not go there. But yeah, this game, you're flying inside of this disgusting thing, and what's cool about it, what I think is probably pretty unique for this game, in some stages it scrolls horizontally, in other stages it scrolls vertically going down. So instead of your typical Raiden style shmup where it's the top-down perspective and you're going up endlessly to try and sort of foster this idea of going inside of this creature planet thing, you go the opposite way. It's pretty cool. Like I said, Natsumi was the main developer. I guess they planned the direction of the game and subcontracted it to other groups, but they were in charge of the audio and the sound. So if you know anything about Natsumi, you know that they made some of the best action games for Famicom and NES. So in America, we had Shatterhands, which in Japan was Super Rescue Soul Brain. It was based on kind of like a Power Rangers style TV show. We had, in America, Power Blade 1 and 2, which if you look at the box art, you can tell it's just Schwarzenegger posing with a giant metal boomerang. In Japan, it is, I think, Power Blazer, and it's more of like a chibi, cutesy art style. In America, we have SCAT, which is supposed to be Special Cybernetic Attack Team or something like that. In Japan, that was Final Mission. That's an awesome shmup, and that also goes in all kinds of different crazy directions and things like that too. So anyway, long story short, if you look into Natsumi, they've been around for a long time. They still exist to a certain extent. I think their last sort of big popular series, which is still popular today, is Harvest Moon. But they were on fire during both the 8 and 16-bit eras. So, super excited to play this game. I think we might have a little bit of an easier time with it than I had with Gradius. last week. I don't know how well you guys can see on stream, but I have the game set up and ready to go back here. All I have to do is hit broadcast, but that looks haunted as fuck. We've got some glitched out sprites and crazy artifacts going, so that's kind of the theme this week. Haunted games, I suppose. I don't know. I think in a couple minutes I will probably cut the introduction, head back to the workshop, and I might have to claim this card again. So hopefully we won't have too long of a break. We'll see. We'll see if we get devoured by a giant planet. I would like to go back a little bit and point out that Jimmy mentioned he rented a Nintendo 64 a lot before his family had one. Can you even go somewhere to rent video game consoles today? I don't think you can. I don't know if that's something that goes on anymore. Where would you go? Redbox? Doubt it. And Jimmy also said, please share the soundtrack too. I will absolutely post it in our Slack. This is an original track made by me for future things. So, without further ado, let us disappear into the fog, and we'll keep the haunted game theme going. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't crash too much. If it does, we got some cheats on deck. We got stage select, level select, invincibility if it's needed, because remember, we're not going for super play here. We're just here to have a good time, appreciate some cool game sounds and art, talk about our memories, goofy shit we played as kids, and, you know, how aggravating or not they got. Oh, People Play Games rents them. Thanks for letting me know about that, Jimmy. People Play Games is an excellent store in Chicago. It is on Clark Street, a little bit north of Belmont. You can get to it off of Lakeshore Drive. Really nice place. They clean all their consoles, they package everything up into these nice little to-go boxes, basically. I didn't know they rent things. They're right in a very popular area of the city, so you're going to pay city prices, but they still have some good deals. They have some rare stuff. So if you're ever visiting Chicago, check that place out for sure. If you're in Southeast Michigan, though, we'd really love it if you check out Retro Taku in Madison Heights. That is the premium joint in our neck of the woods if you want import games and all the good, excellent hardware. What's up, Greg? Thanks for joining. A little more smoke for you. Here you go. This is way back, 19XDX Episode 2. We're going to get splattery as hell. We're going to get gory and grisly with Abadox. So, hopefully it doesn't take me too long to get this working again. Something glitched as fuck back there. See you guys, hopefully really soon.